Increasingly skilled CircuitPythonistas ready to go from the Circuit Playground to the Raspberry Pi Pico, it's Prof G. And at this point in our course, my students moved from the Circuit Playground board they started with, which was an excellent sensor, light, and component-packed board to begin with, to a Raspberry Pi Pico series board. At the time I'm recording this, we're using Raspberry Pi Pico Series 2Ws, which are great boards. They have more memory, lots of expansion possibilities with breadboards, they're faster, and they offer Wi-Fi. Plus, they only cost about $8. This lesson is targeted at my students, as well as folks who have gone through the earlier lessons, so I'll assume that you have the basics of CircuitPython, and that you've already got PyCharm and CircUp installed. If all this is new to you, and you're starting with a Raspberry Pi Pico series board, you can find a series for the absolute beginner fresh start lessons in the Pico School subset playlist. So let's get that Pico prepped. We're going to download and install our latest version of CircuitPython for the appropriate Raspberry Pi Pico board. We'll use CircuitPython setboard to tell PyCharm that we're going to work with the Raspberry Pi Pico. Since some of my students have boards that have been used by other students, we're going to delete any extra files that might have been left on the board. We'll write some code to blink the onboard LED. And we'll learn some additional Pico-centric tips and tricks. If you have a Monk Makes board with a labeled Pico pins, align it like this with the micro USB port off to the right, and the first pins lined up with these first holes on the left with the leg straddling the ravine. The ravine is a center indent in the board that disconnects the top and bottom columns. Now you can keep your Pico plugged into your breadboard most of the time, especially important so students don't bend the legs when carrying the Pico around in a backpack. Next, plug the micro USB side of the cable into your Pico and the other end of the cable into your computer. If your board hasn't been upgraded with CircuitPython, green power light won't flash on the Pico, so don't worry if you don't see it. And big warning, always make sure you're using a data transfer cable. If you're using a charge-only cable, your Pico won't show up as connected to your computer. Speaking of which, you should now see your Pico show up as a USB drive connected to your computer. Now, if you're using a brand new Pico board, you should see a name like RPI-RP2 if you're using one of the original Pico boards, or RP2350, those are the Pico 2 series boards. Basically, it should be something that starts with RP, not CircuitPy. Now, when you see that RP name, that means that the board is in what's called bootloader mode. It's not yet ready for coding, but it does mean that we can drag over the latest version of CircuitPython. It's the equivalent of seeing CPlay boot or CPlay BT boot on the Circuit Playground. If you plug in your board and you see CircuitPy instead of something that begins with RP, that means that a version of CircuitPython has already been installed on your board, which is often the case with my students. Now, I want everyone to install the latest version of CircuitPython. So if your board already says CircuitPy, let's get into bootloader mode so that you can upgrade your board with the same steps everyone would do with a board in RP or bootloader mode. Now, by the way, if you ever want to upgrade CircuitPython to a new version, you're going to follow this same procedure to get into bootloader mode. Here are the steps. Unplug your micro USB connection to your board. The CircuitPy volume should disappear from your desktop. Then press and hold down the boot cell button on the board. That's this one here. It should be roughly in this location regardless of the Pico board you're using. Keep it held down, and while you hold it down, plug the USB cable back into your board. Then if you glance over at your screen, you should see the board mount with the RP name, meaning it's in bootloader mode. You can release that boot button, and congratulations, you're now in bootloader mode, and we're all ready to install the latest version of CircuitPython on the board. Now you'll follow these same steps regardless of whether you're installing CircuitPython for the first time or upgrading the version of CircuitPython on your board. So with your board in bootloader mode, starting with RP if it's a Raspberry Pi Pico board, open your browser, head to circuitpython.org, click on the Downloads tab, and find your exact board. Now make sure you choose the exact board that you have, Pico or Pico 2, and the W option for that board if your board has wireless capabilities. Now there are hundreds of boards in here, so if you don't see your board at the top, you can just type in the board name up here and search for it. It's very important that you choose the right board, because while the CircuitPython code that you write will work across hundreds of boards with very little modification, there is a special CircuitPython file to install on each distinct type of board that you'll use. Now I'm using a Raspberry Pi Pico 2W board, so I'll choose this one here. Now your version of CircuitPython is likely higher than the one that you see here, but this is the latest version on the day that I'm recording this lesson. Don't worry if you've got a higher version, that's great, but don't use the alpha or beta version. Stick with a release version. That should be the most bug-free. Now click the purple download.uf2 file now button. This will download the file we'll use to install or update CircuitPython. Your browser might save yours to the downloads folder. I have my browser configured to ask me where I want to save it. I'll save mine to the desktop. And now you can minimize your browser and find the file you've just downloaded. It's probably in your downloads folder, and all you need to do to install CircuitPython on your board is to drag the file that ends in .uf2, that's the file you just downloaded, drag it into your board in bootloader mode. Remember, that should start with RP. Do not drag the UF2 file if your board is mounted with CircuitPy. That'll just take up space and it won't do anything else. But when you release the UF2 file after you've dragged it into your board in bootloader mode, it might take 30 seconds or so for the file to copy over to your board. Then your board will dismount from your computer, and after a few seconds, it will remount and have the name CircuitPy in all caps. Well, at least it should. I waited about 10 seconds after the file was done copying. For some reason, it didn't remount. That might just be a quirk in the version of the Mac operating system I'm using, but if you unplug your board and plug it back in, you should see it mount as CircuitPy. Congratulations! We're now ready to code, and from now on, unless there's a problem with your board or software, you should see CircuitPy mounted whenever you plug your board into your computer. Now let's open our CircuitPy volume, and you might remember from working with your Circuit Playground, there's a boot_out.txt file that you can open up, and this shows what version of CircuitPython you're running. It also shows the name of the board you're using, and if your board contains Wi-Fi capabilities, it should also show a MAC address. Now that isn't important for you now, so don't worry if you don't know what that means, but it will be important for my students specifically when they want to register their boards for wireless use on the campus network. But we'll have a lot more lessons before we get there, so you can just ignore it for now. Just remember, if you need your MAC address in the future, it's in your bootout.txt file. And at this point, you can throw away your UF2 file. We don't need that. You can always download another copy if you need it in the future. And now let's launch PyCharm. Again, if you haven't used this before, you've got to do some setup to get PyCharm to work with CircuitPython, so see an earlier video. I'm seeing some old code.py code up here, but that's going to go away in just a minute when I erase all of the files on my Pico. But before I do that, I want to change my PyCharm project so that PyCharm knows that I'm now working with the Raspberry Pi Pico. It had previously been set up to work with the Circuit Playground Bluefruit. And the change is super easy. Make sure your terminal is open and you're at the prompt. Then let's head to our tip sheet. So you can open a browser and go to bit.ly/CircuitPython, capital C, capital P, -tip-sheet. And let's find Command F Mac, Control F Windows on the term set board, all one word. In the tip sheet, it says that this tells PyCharm the type of CircuitPython board you're working with. At the prompt, all you'll do is enter CircuitPython_set_board and then the name that's expected. I've got a bunch of boards listed here already. The one that I'm using is the Raspberry Pi Pico 2W board, so I'll highlight and select this, copy it. Just remember, for my students, if you switch back to your Circuit Playground Bluefruit board, you're going to have to perform this function again with Circuit Playground Bluefruit. It'll just ensure that code completion and error correction works fine for whatever board you're using. And if you need to look up the name for another board, I've got a command on the tip sheet on how you can do that. So now back to PyCharm, and at the prompt in the terminal, I'll paste in the command I just copied, I'll press return, and you don't see anything. It would be nice to see a prompt that says everything worked, but the fact that we don't get an error message is the indicator that everything worked. And before we write any code, why don't we erase anything that's on the board so we can get rid of any old libraries, any sounds, or any other files that might have been left there by another student. Not needed if you're using a brand new board, but you should know how to do this anyway. So back in the tip sheet, I'm going to search for erase, and I see the information about storage help. And my students remember they use this command when they set up their Circuit Playground Bluefruit board. We need to import storage before this, and we need to do this from within terminal in the REPL mode from the > prompt. So let's head back over to PyCharm. First, let's get into TO. So I type in TO --L, my boards list. The board that's my Pico is this one that's /dev/tty.usb modem. Windows users will see COM with a number next to it. Copy whichever name you typically use for your board. Then at the prompt, type TO space, paste in the name of your board, press return. And after a moment, you should connect. Now you should be able to press any key to get into the REPL. Control C is a good one. I see the REPL prompt. It also reminds me of the version of CircuitPython I'm using and the board. Let's head back to the tip sheet to see those commands. And this tells me I first got to import storage, but I'm also going to highlight and copy the second command to enter, storage.erasefilesystem. Head back to PyCharm. Type import storage, press return, paste in the command I just copied, press return. The board disconnects, the files are being erased, and after a moment, your board should connect again. If it doesn't after you wait a moment, you can quit out of PyCharm, unplug your board, plug it back in. And now this should have erased my code.py file, so I'm going to verify that. I'm going to click the little X next to the code.py tab to close this file. I'll click the folder to open up the files associated with this PyCharm project, and on my CircuitPy volume, I can see code.py. If I double-click to open this, all I see is a print hello world. If you want to double verify that your files were erased, you can go to your desktop, open your CircuitPy volume. You should just see the standard files and folders, and if you look inside your lib folder, you should see that there are no libraries currently installed. But Circup works fine. You'll be able to install anything you need really easily. Again, if you're new, make sure you've seen the Circup lesson. It's going to save you a ton of time. Now let's write a little bit of code to get our Pico working. Unlike the Circuit Playground, there are no NeoPixel lights on the board, but there is a little green LED that we can flash, and we can do that programmatically, so let's do that now. First, I'll delete the print line that's in here. We don't need that. Import time, board, digital IO. When we did our set board, that lets PyCharm know what board we're using, and it should now be aware of everything inside of board that's appropriate for the Raspberry Pi Pico. I'm going to print. The Pico is awesome, and then I'm going to define the little LED light that's on the board. I'm going to call it LED, set it equal to digital IO dot, so I'm using this library up here, digital in out, capital D, capital I, capital O, and in parens board dot and in all caps LED. AI guessed exactly what I wanted to use here. So we set up the LED light to work with digital IO. In the next line, we'll set its direction as an output device. We'll say LED dot direction equals digital IO dot capital D direction dot and in all caps output. Now the way that we flash this light is we simply set the LED dot value to true for it to be on and LED dot value to false when it's off. So in our while true loop, to have that light continue to flash, I'm going to say LED dot value equals capital T true. Then I'll do a time dot sleep passing in 0.5. Then LED value equals capital F false, then time.sleep passing in 0.5. Let's save this code. The little blue ball goes away, and my code executes. And hey, if we take a look at the LED on our Pico, we can see that it's flashing on and off in half-second intervals. We turn the light on by setting LED.value equal to true, and we turn it off by setting LED.value equal to false. And the time sleep statements in here say that we wait half a second after turning the LED on, and then half a second after turning the LED off. And while true just repeats these statements forever, but if we want to speed things up, say we want that light to flash on and off in 1/10 of a second intervals, instead of 1/2 second, we can change the 0.5s in these two statements to 0.1s. Once again, save your work. And look at that, coder. The light is now flashing 5 times faster at 0.1 second intervals. Nice work. And why don't we save a copy of this code to our CircuitPython school folder as well. As is our custom, I'll put a comment on the first line with the name of the file I'm going to use, pico_blink.py. Save this to our CircuitPython school folder, and don't forget to close that outermost tab. And 2 more things to note about this LED light. If the code is done executing and there weren't any more errors, the LED will flash once every 5 seconds, and if the code encountered an error and wasn't able to finish properly, the LED will flash twice every 5 seconds. And we had our first set of big learning for the Raspberry Pi Pico. We learned the steps to install or upgrade CircuitPython on a Raspberry Pi Pico series board. We erased any existing files on that board, configured our PyCharm project so that it knew about the Raspberry Pi Pico by using the CircuitPython setboard command. We wrote code to blink the Pico's LED light, and we changed this to make the light blink more frequently. Stay tuned for some more Pico goodness, so we can use the Raspberry Pi Pico to make something awesome.